Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to a review on some airbrush paint. We've got the Sedugio airbrush paint from Amazon. Now I've got a couple of test samples here. I've got a green and a black. I'll pop a picture up in the screen now. This is what you get in the set, and this is on Amazon for $19.99, and it's an airbrush acrylic paint. So they're the colours that you're going to get. This one's got sort of mixed reviews. I've looked at the reviews on Amazon and read people's comments. And you can tell people that are beginners and in the comments, and people that are sort of brushers that use it for modelling and things like that. So you can see by their comments on the feedback they've given on the reviews. So never go off reviews as in if you're a beginner and a beginner's trying to paint, I'd say, because they've not sort of had the experience with paints. And a lot of beginners tend to run high pressure and they're sort of blasting it out. When you're going on models and things like that, you're going to be dropping your pressure down, and this is where cheap airbrush paint can start to sort of foul up when you bring the pressures down. So you've got to start mixing it. So it says in the description this will paint on glass, wood, paper, metal, plastic. So I've got a piece of glass, we're going to test it on that. I've got some aluminium dye bond, which is basically say metal if you was painting on a base coated metal panel. I've got some of that. I've got a bit of wood to try it on. I've got a couple of plastic spoons, we'll try it on that. I've got some flow agents as well, so I've got some flow improvers, and we've got water. So we're going to try it straight out the bottle on a 0.15mm airbrush, a 0.2 and a 0.3. Straight out the bottle, all running at the same air pressure. We'll see what it atomizes like straight out the bottle, and then we'll drop the pressure down and we'll see what this runs like if you was running low pressure and you wanted to go in on detail on a model, a 3D print or something like that, or something really intricate. So we've got a black. Now I've noticed in these you've got no description on the back, like what you can thin it down with and things like that. It's just basically got water-based airbrush acrylic paint, black on the front, their name to the side, and then when you shake the bottle, to me it sounds quite thick. You've got no sort of like ball bearing or agitator inside to mix the paint up. Unlike your other airbrush paints like Golden, they have a little ball in the bottom, so it just agitates the paint if it's been sitting for a while, and it can break the pigment down. So we're going to go straight out the bottle, straight in with a 0.15 Harder & Steenbeck Evolution. I'll do a couple of passes on here, see what it atomizes like. So we're running 25 psi. I'll take this black, I'll do a couple of drops. Now this is thick. As you can see with 0.15, that is not even spraying at 25 psi, that is spitting, and it's not even put the paint down. So that is way too thick, 25 psi with a Harder & Steenbeck 0.15. So if you have got a Steenbeck and you're looking at this paint, you've got no hope of this paint going through a brush straight out the bottle, and it says can go through every airbrush on the actual description. Well, it can't, and that's just a test straight away. That is just spitting. That's full back on the trigger, and we've got no paint, we're just spitting. So on a 0.15, it's not going to have it, guys. We'll move on to another H&S on a 0.2, so a little bit bigger needle and nozzle. We'll go a couple of drops. Now it's coming through this one. Again, it's spraying it, but that is way too thick for this brush. The atomization on that is really poor. It's speckled up. I'll zoom in with the camera in a minute so you can see these, but that's really speckled, but it's going through. So a little bit of improvement on the 0.2, so we'll need thinning down for a 0.2. We'll try in a 0.3, so we've got the Iwata 0.3. We'll do a couple of drops in there, and you can hear that it's coming through, but I instantly know that's too thick because you can hear it's grainy on the brush. Again, it's spraying it, but too grainy. If you're going down on detail and you've got that graininess there, it'll be horrendous paint job if you've got it down to that. So that's a 1.5, 0.2, 0.3. So what we'll do now is we'll go back to the 1.5 and I will drop 2 drops of water in, back flush that, and then thinning it at that, we're struggling again. So again, too thick with 2 drops of water. Just starting to come through. It's spraying it, but 2 drops of water is really washed the colour out on the 0.15. So we'll do the same on the 0.2. I'll drop 1 drop of water into this mix. One drop of water with 0.2 with 2 drops of paint. It's atomising better, but it is washing out the colour. You'll find this with cheaper paints. When you start thinning them down, it just breaks the pigment up and it starts to wash them out. You will get this down, but you'll have to build your layers up. You'll have to go in really light and put this paint down very, very lightly to build the colours up. But it's spraying it in the 0.2 with a couple of drops with 1 drop of water, 2 drops of black. We'll try 1 drop of water with the 0.3. Instantly here it's spraying coming through a lot easier on the 0.3. Again, sprays it better, atomises it better than the 0.2, but again looks washed. You'll have to build the layers up with this. Now we're using black. I'll clean these through, we'll try the green. I've got the black and the green. Sometimes you'll find your white and your black, the pigments can be they can be thicker, a lot sort of denser, especially on your white. You'll find whites are very grainy. A lot of airbrush paints, when it comes to whites, you have trouble with because it's a very high pigment. So I'll give that a little blast through. We'll just do the same again with the green. And you can see that's 3 drops of the green. Again, it paints it, sprays it with 0.3 straight out the bottle, but you can just tell it's not flowing right. And you have to have your air pressure. This is 25 on a 0.3, so you can hear this is a lot fiercer. When you start coming down your needle and nozzle sizes, it's a lot softer because you don't get so much air forcing out the front, even though it's 25 psi. So 0.3 upwards to a 0.5 will spray this out the bottle, but you are running high pressure. So if you are going in on detail, as you well know, 0.4 and 0.5s, you've got to be really careful running high pressure going down on detail because you will just get blowouts and spider webbing. So this paint has got to be thinned. Now, what we'll do is we will drop some of this paint into, and you can see how thick that's running. It's really thick. It's just building up on that now and starting to run down. So we'll go flow improver. And just give that a little mix. Now, flow improvers, when you put flow improvers into paint, what they can tend to do is they break the pigment down and they turn it to a like transparent. So again, you'll be thinning the paint down like you do with water, so it will be a lot more washed out, which will just mean you'll have to take your time, build your layers up very slowly to get like a full black. You'd have to probably do about 2 or 3 passes if you're using black or any colour to get that to full sort of opaque consistency on your colours. So this one's with a flow improver. Now, the flow improver makes this paint work a lot better. Atomising brilliantly, really nice on the atomisation. It's not sort of washed, which is what it did with water. And as I say, a couple of coats, 2 or 3 coats, and you'll get your consistency nice. Yeah, flow improver is the way to go. This one's working with it really well, so that's that one. It seems to break the paint down really nice. A lot better on details. And this is at 25 psi in the 0.3. So you can get away with that in the 0.3. Flow improver, which is this one, I'll put a link in the description to this one. This seems to run nice with this paint. We will try the same again in a 0.2. I'll just clean this one through. Drop this mix in the 0.2. And again, the 0.2's running. And you can instantly hear, I always hear it with brushes, you can hear it how it's flowing. You'll know exactly if your paint's too thick and grainy. You just hear the change in that air as it comes out. So this is running, that mix is running absolutely spot on in the 0.2. Really nice, atomising nice, consistent on the lines. Yeah, so that works absolutely fine. We'll move down to the 0.15, blast that through, just clean this brush through. We'll run the same drop of paint in there. A little bit harder with the 1.5. Let's just drop a little bit in this, because I think I've got a little bit left over of the black in here. Now with a little bit more flow improver in that mix, the 0.15 spraying really nice. And you can hear that. It's just nice and soft, the paint's coming out. So you've got another good mix. So if you're buying this paint, buy some of this. Works really well with this paint. Getting it to the consistency ready to apply to your pieces that we're going to show you next. So we've got metal, we've got glass, we've got wood. It says t-shirts and it says shoes and leather. Now, any airbrush paint will go down to t-shirts, because a t-shirt is sort of like, if you zoom in on a t-shirt, it's a very sort of like open pattern, and it absorbs paint. The problems you will find when you use this for t-shirts, people will be thinking, oh, I can start painting airbrush t-shirts. They'll paint it in this, they'll do their nice piece of artwork on it, they'll chuck it through the washing machine, and the colour will instantly come out with water-based acrylics. You need to get a sealer. I'll leave a link in the description where you can put a coat of sealer down onto your t-shirt first, then airbrush it, and then put a coat of the sealer down on top. you heat set it, and then you're good to go for sticking it through the washing machine. It just sort of locks the acrylic in place. I've tried t-shirts in the past with airbrush paint straight out the bottle and it washes out. Leather is exactly the same. You can paint any acrylic down to leather. It looks great on leather, but then if you leave it and don't seal it, it will come off. If you're wearing them out, it will eventually come off. You need a sealer to go over. Same as anything like sort of denim, things like that, leather jackets, you need sealers, but the airbrush acrylics will work. You just need that sealer to bond it to the actual surface that you're working on. And I think this will apply to glass as well, because they're saying you can spray it on glass. Now there are actual glass paints that you can buy, and I would rather steer down the route of proper glass paints instead of using an airbrush acrylic on glass. So we'll get the 0.3. We've got a piece of glass here. Now, yes, it sprays on glass, but what you tend to get is, with a mix like this, it just starts to break up. On glass. It doesn't work on glass, and I don't really see why you'd be painting sort of acrylic paints on glass. You have to go for the actual specific glass paint if you're doing sort of like a stained glass effect, but I wouldn't recommend it, and it'll just wipe off like this. So glass, I wouldn't go down that route with this paint. Timber is like t-shirts. When you spray on timber, it instantly sprays on. You have no dramas spraying acrylic on timber. I've done timber things in the garden on slatted timber like this and painted pieces. As long as you seal it after, I've used like a clear coat over the top, or you can use a varnish. It's absolutely fine. So timber is okay to spray on. No dramas with timber. On metal, this will go down on metal. This is a powder coated aluminium panel, and I've Scotch brighted it, so I've sort of keyed the surface up. Now, your airbrush acrylics will go down straight on this. Near enough all airbrush acrylics will go down on a painted surface. The only dramas you'll get with airbrush acrylics is if it's a thin mix like this is, and you're going in too high with your pressure, you'll get the same sort of effect you can get on glass because it's a very smooth surface. So you've got to back off on your pressure, get your paint mix right, and just go in and airbrush really, really light and build your layers up when you're working on different pieces like this. If you're working on paper, it's a very absorbent surface, so you can get away with 25 psi going up quite close because the paper's absorbing it. When you start coming down on smoother surfaces, drop your pressure down and get your paint mix just right for your brush. This is a little bit thin for this 0.3. We could go a little bit thicker on this mix and you'd get like a better coverage on here on your metals. So that's a test on that. We've got some plastic. I'm going to drop the green in to go on the plastic because we've got a black spoon. So straight out the bottle, and you can hear it. Now this is plastic. They say you can spray on plastic. Now that's one coat. We'll just sort of dry that off with a bit of air. Me personally, whenever I've sprayed plastic, I always use a primer first. It's just embedded into my head. Use an adhesion promoter first. It's just going to help you, especially if you're doing, say, like an RC body. If you're doing RC bodies and you pick this paint up and you're going off the guidelines of, oh, I can spray it straight to plastic, and you hit it straight the way on plastic, Yes, acrylic will dry and it will look like it's bonded, but it won't bond as good as if you're putting a promoter down. You've got to key your surface up, put a plastic promoter down, and then go in with your acrylic. Now, this is sat for a bit, and just dry that off some more. Now, this is adhering to it because the paint is not wiping off easy. It is wiping off, but you can see, how that paint's just gathering, so it is drying to plastic. So it has gone down to plastic, but I still wouldn't trust it. Belts and braces, plastic primer first, and then go in with your acrylic and you'll be good to go. That's the way I've done it, that's the way I'll always do it. And I've just had problems with plastic on the channel on a piece that I've done on an Ironman engine bay. And I use plastic promoter, and all plastics are different, guys. You get different sorts of plastics, you get different codes on plastics, and it's always good to check the codes on plastics before you paint them. And then you can go to like the data sheets, look at what the material is made out of, and it will tell you whether it's good for this application or this. So it's always best to go down that route if you're not sure on your surface. When it comes to timber, thumbs up, good to go. Paper, you're good to go. I'd say gesso on this, absolutely fine. Metals, key your surface up. Go in nice and light if you're thinning this paint down. But all in all, after looking at these here, I'll just give you a little zoom. So 015 straight out the bottle didn't spray, you can see it spitting there. 02 out the bottle, yes it sprayed it, but it wasn't atomising it very good here. 03, this was the atomisation on the 03, so still specklet and a little bit grainy. Then we thinned it with a couple of drops of water and tried it on the water mix, and it did, you can see it sort of washed out there to the original out of the bottle. So it washes it out again on the 0.2 and washed it out again on that. The best mix that I found for this was, as I say, the flow improver, that one, because this paint is very thick out the bottle. And I'll just do you another little test on that. That's how slow that paint's running down. And that's really thick. That is a thick bodied paint. So definite flow improver. But all in all, it works. If you're a beginner and you're using this paint, you'll get your jobs done with it. Just follow the guidelines that I've showed you on thinning it. That's running at 25 psi. And as I say, if you've got the small airbrush, you've got to thin this down if you've got the small needle and nozzle. If you're coming up your sizes from the 0.3 up, if you're running 0.5 and you're just blasting down paint, you'll have no dramas with it because you'll be upping your pressure and it'll atomise it because it's getting through that needle and nozzle. But if you're doing intricate 3D models or going in on sort of portraits and you're running at a 1.5 or 0.2, you've got to thin this paint. So I hope this helped you out. If you've clocked this on Amazon and you're thinking of getting it, for $19.99 for the set that you get, I don't think it's bad, but then you'll be buying this. And these come in at about £7 or £8 for a bottle of this. This will last you ages because you're putting a drop at a time. I would go 2 drops of the colour to say 1 drop or to 2 drops of the flow improver, and I would mix it, not in your airbrush, I would mix it in a little pot like that, mix it up and then decant it into your airbrush. If you've got some small bottles of this, or the bottles that size, just do a mix of it with the flow improver and decant it into a spare bottle, and then you've got your paint ready mixed and you've not got to worry. You can pick your small airbrush tip up and you've got your actual paint like this mixed with your flow improver ready. So all in all, it works. If you're a beginner, it'll be fiddly for a beginner. It's not, I would say, a beginner's paint. It's more if you've been the airbrushing game for quite a bit of time, you can understand paint and how it works and how it flows. So just grab some of that and you'll be good to go. So I hope this has helped you out if you're looking at this paint on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description if you are interested in it so you can have a look. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, click that subscribe, press that notification, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers guys.